Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 405. I am so excited for today's guest. We have on the show a dear friend of mine, Naomi Murphy, who has been a listener of the show. She's been my stalker. And what I love about Naomi is that she has been a health warrior. She has reversed some major health issues, and I've been really honored to be her friend and be part of her health journey, watching her recover from Epstein-Barr virus and from several other issues. And it's just watching you transform has been amazing. And in this last year, her and I have really joined forces together in the way we cook, the way we eat, and the way we use food as medicine. And, you know, when we're all alone and we're making health changes, it's really, I've felt very isolated in my past, you know, when I'm switching to a different diet or when I'm getting on a detox protocol and there's no one else to do it with me. And that's why I love like the Learn True Health Facebook group is that at least there's some sense of community and people can come and feel supported, feel a sense of community. So when Naomi decided to go whole food, plant-based, no salt, sugar, oil for her health to heal her heart, my husband and I were already eating this way. And so it was so great to have a friend join me, and we started texting each other almost daily, like pictures and recipes, and we'd bring each other food, and so to have that camaraderie was so amazing. So I've watched you transform your health, and it's been wonderful. And I've kept saying I got to have you on the show because you're really inspiring, and you've done so many things. You're so disciplined in. And so focused on making sure that health is first. And I know you are just chock full of wonderful information to help the listeners today. So I'm really, really excited that you're finally here on the show.
Thank you, Ashley. I have to say it's a little surreal to be on this side of the podcast because I've been a listener for so long. And when I met you, you told me about your podcast, and I think it took a year before I even checked it out. And then my life started to change and expand because of everything I learned. And I was like, oh my God, this podcast is amazing. And I started recommending it to everyone and talking to you more because I already knew you. And yes, stalked you and asked you every question I could think of. And then, lucky for me, we have become friends. And
Yeah.
I agree about eating a diet that's kind of outside the mainstream way of eating. It is so great to have others that do that. And, that's really how I've eaten different ways before, like been surrounded by acupuncture students or ND students working at colleges. Getting into like fun cleanses and things like that. And so, now I'm a suburban mom. I'm not in that holistic health community as much as I used to be. And so it was great to have you to talk to. And I think it was imperative almost, that I had someone to talk to because it was even going against my family culture a little bit. Even if my husband wants to be healthier, not everyone's ready at the same time, to start eating. It was eating whole food, plant-based, no salt, oil, or sugar.
Which sounds really boring and hard and expensive and not delicious. I mean, when I first heard that, I just thought that I can't. My first thought was I can't do that, which is really funny. But when I first heard about these very specific parameters, like whole food, plant-based, meaning there's no animal products, no dairy, no cheese, no eggs, no meat, no fish, lots of fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, and beans, that and whole greens, and no oil and no salt, no sugar. And I just thought that food sounds so bland and so complicated.
Yeah.
But then I started hearing the health benefits and the studies. And I kept interviewing these doctors who are reversing major diseases.
Right.
And it just kept itching on my brain, like just etching on my brain this every single meal I'd eat with oil and salt and sugar and animal fat or whatever. It kept, because at the time I was doing keto, because I was sold this idea that keto is the absolute number one healthiest way to eat. But my health was getting worse on keto, not better, even though I was working with a naturopath. We'd go weekly to the naturopath and show them everything we ate. And they're like, keep at it, add more fats, add more eggs, add more cheese, like whatever it was, whatever it was. And we were getting, we were deteriorating. Our health was getting worse and worse and worse. And I want to eat in a way that heals me.
Yeah.
And I've been frustrated that I've done over 30 diets, several of them led by doctors. And I've looked into science because, you can find a study to say that, the Oreo diet's healthy for you. Like because there's a lot of paid studies out there. So there's a lot of misinformation. But I was looking and searching for a way to heal my body with food. And the keto was not doing it for me. And then when I kept hearing over and over and over again, because all the guests that I'd interviewed, and I wasn't like going out looking for whole food plant-based doctors, they found me and a lot of times. And I kept interviewing them, and I just kept hearing like cancer reversed, diabetes, type 2 diabetes reversed, type 1 diabetes significantly improved to the point where they cut insulin in half easily. I heard one guy told me he cut his insulin by 70%. He's a type 1 diabetic because his body became so efficient. Weight loss happens as a byproduct of this, like healthy, just achieving a healthy weight, immune health, like crazy. You're living 30 years longer, and a really healthy health in your senior years. So I kept hearing it over and over and over again. And that's when I started to go, okay. And then Chef AJ, and she tries to make it be delicious. So I started to look at it. When I interviewed her, I started to look into maybe I could do this. Let's try it. Let's just do 30 days. And so I decided to do a 30-day challenge. And actually at the time, a friend was visiting from Canada. Catherine Ann was visiting from Canada. This was 2 years ago. Yeah. And we did the 30-day challenge. And by the end of the 30 days, I couldn't believe it. I was like, this food is delicious. This food is easier to make. It's easier to make because there's no like meat I have to think about, which I didn't realize was kind of, because food poisoning, like, oh, I have to like, you got to really like make sure things are cleaner. Whereas when you're just cooking vegetables and grains, that's not part of the equation. But after 1 month of just trying the challenge, I was on board because I could not believe how good I felt. And I always thought I'd eat meat. I loved meat, but after 30 days of trying no meat just as an experiment and eating a whole food plant-based diet with no processed foods, my body was buzzing with energy. I'd wake up in the morning, jump out of bed, and just be ready to go. Whereas before, I just had that like low level fog, follow me. And it took me a few hours to shake it off. Whereas now it's just on. I'm on, in the morning, I'm just on.
Yeah. I think that, many of us are functioning under a misunderstanding, which is promoted by our government, for our government recommendations, because the government subsidizes the foods that are actually not good for us. The meat industry and the dairy industry are subsidized. And so they want to promote those foods. And there's science that supports eating plants for health, that is available to everyone. I was just listening to T. Colin Campbell in the book Whole. He was saying when he wrote the China study, which shows that eating a whole food plant-based diet is the best for health. It's the optimal diet for health, and it's backed up with the China study. And he said that, he was really naive. He thought that he would bring that information to people and it would change everything. It would change legislation around food and nutrition. It would change medicine. It would change everything. But instead, he met a lot of resistance
Yeah.
in his own community, in the academic community, which is why he started writing books for people to read and to have access to the information. But I think the China study was written in 1976, and when he wrote Whole, he was 79 years old, or when he read it anyway, I'm hearing him on Audible. And so there's a lot of resistance to changing our way of eating away from animal products. It's in our language. Like, we have to get to the meat of the matter. I always thought that the most satisfying part of my meal that really stuck to my ribs, that made me feel satisfied and full, was the protein, from an animal product, and the fat. I thought the protein and the fat were the satisfying parts, and that I needed to add some fiber and some color for health. My mind was blown when I cut out all animal products, and I did it cold turkey.
Yeah, we're going to get into that story though.
Okay, and I was blown away, and I continue to be, actually, that eating a high fiber diet in the form of fruits and vegetables is way more satisfying than eating meat and fat ever was. And I have the added benefit of never feeling like I'm having a food coma or I'm getting kind of ill from eating. Like, I like to eat,
Yes.
so I don't eat tiny portions. I eat a big amount of good food that I make, and I don't. I just feel like the pressure of being full. I don't feel disgusting or tired or fatigued or anything.
Right.
I don't feel any, and there's definitely no hangover the next day. I feel
The food comas and the food hangovers.
Yeah. We can celebrate holidays with great, delightful, interesting, flavorful food that makes you lose weight instead of gain weight if you need to lose weight, which I do. Without trying, just by cooking the whole food, plant-based food.
Right. Yeah, well, you did Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's all eating the whole food plant-based diet, your whole family, including your parents, which we'll get into your story.
Okay.
But you guys had a successful whole holiday season, and no one felt deprived, and everyone got to eat amazing, delicious foods.
Yes.
We filmed some of it and put it in the membership, the Learn Your Health Home Kitchen membership.
Yes.
And yeah, it's delicious. But
Yeah.
you're right. I'm sitting here and I'm feeling my body. And we just about a half an hour ago ate your amazing, made from scratch, whole food plant-based sag paneer, which is delicious Indian food. And I feel so satisfied right now. Like, I do not need to eat for the next 5 hours. I feel so satisfied. And there was no meat in it, but you can't, like, even
And there's no oil in it. There's not even oil added to sort of make you feel satisfied and full. There's just, and so it's amazing to me. I think it will be amazing for a long time.
The Ashley 3 years ago would not believe the Ashley now. Like, that's how much my world has changed in the last few years from slowly. If I feel like I'm doing what I did, what your husband is doing, which is I slowly adapted to the whole food plant-based, whereas you're
went whole hog, but not cold turkey.
Right. I am now whole. I am now whole hog, but I didn't go cold turkey. Right. Yeah. All the meat talk. Whereas you went totally cold turkey, just like my husband.
Yeah.
Right. He just woke up. I don't know, January 1st.
I had some strong motivation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I heard about the diet, when you guys were eating whole food, plant-based, no oil, I just thought, well, that's a bit fussy, that's a bit extreme, but I could accommodate that, I could cook something for you, but I didn't imagine that I would want to do that. It just didn't occur to me that would be a good solution for me because of, the other health information I'd been following, the way that I'd been using whole foods. And, I remember like about a decade ago, there was a number of books kind of about using the whole food, and like people talked about like, yeah, eat the chicken skin, eat the whole thing because there's benefits to all parts. But what they don't mention is you can get many more nutrients in plant foods than you can in the chicken skin. It's just that if you happen to be eating chicken, which turns out to have a lot of problems, if you read Proteinaholic and if you read How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger, you can learn that there are some significant problems associated with eating poultry that I never imagined possible, actually, because poultry has been considered like a healthier version of meat, and so
Well, what's funny is in the Proteinaholic, he cites a study where they showed that eating poultry is associated with weight gain. And on all the diets that I gained weight and not lost weight, and I was just like beating my head against the wall, desperately trying to lose weight, I was eating chicken.
Yeah. Think of all the people eating chicken breasts.
Thinking that they're doing something really, really healthy.
Right.
But out of all the animals that you could eat, chicken, which we associate with low fat and weight loss, is actually the one that causes the most amount of weight gain.
Yeah.
Unhealthy weight gain.
It's also associated with prostate cancer. Developing prostate cancer, and I don't remember what else. It's very strongly associated with some serious illness. And, now that my husband and I are in our late 40s, it's just becoming a time where we're really paying attention to health changes and really, wanting to live healthfully. Like when you're a teenager in your 20s, like you can abuse your body and there's not much, you don't necessarily feel the impact.
Right. And now we feel everything.
Yeah. So it's interesting. And I wish I would have had all this information when I was younger.
I do too. I know I'm ready to hear it, which is really funny because we were just talking about that before we hit record, that I owned the Colin T. Campbell's book, The China Study, in the early 2000s, and I was reading it. I didn't finish it, obviously. I remember being on an airplane, reading it, flying somewhere. I think I was like flying to Florida for the Christmas, and then I like left it there or lost it or something. But imagine how different my life would have been if I had actually taken that book seriously in my early 20s.
Yeah.
My life would have been very different. But I'm really, really happy with where I am now. And I think regret and guilt and shame are very toxic emotions. And I've heard some people compare it to like every time you feel guilt or shame, it's kind of like smoking a cigarette.
Oh, okay.
So if we think about it, is toxic for the body.
Yeah.
For us to stay in that level of vibration of holding on to regret, shame, and guilt. And I could totally go there. I could totally feel the amount of regret of my past, right? But we are the people we are right now because of our past.
Right.
And so let's just transform it into a positive. I appreciate the person I am now, and I'm still growing. I'm still on a journey, as are you, as are we all. And I can appreciate my past. But if I had taken it seriously, oh my gosh, my life would be so different now.
Yes.
So it's pretty amazing that we, I had the cognitive dissonance to not, to just shut it down and not listen.
Yes. I recall actively dismissing that book. Sean and I were talking about it when we were dating. So let's say 17 years ago, he had a friend who ate whole food, plant-based, no sugar. I don't know about the oil and salt. And it was based on reading T. Colin Campbell's book, The China Study, that scientifically shows that way of eating is the healthiest. And I remember saying, well, I'm going to pretend that you've never said that because it just was not workable in my mind at that time.
We have to be ready to hear it, but you were ready to hear it because you were facing some health challenges. And I know that listeners the listeners want to take their health to the next level. Some of them are in an acute situation of facing health challenges, while others are just really interested in achieving those health goals. Let's talk about your story and paint that picture. What have you gone through in your life Because I know you have really healed some stuff. So what have you gone through in your life? Tell us your story.
So when I think about my relationship with food, so a key memory is when I was in high school and I just wanted to be thinner, and I remember depriving my body of food and then like standing next to the refrigerator and eating, ice cream, and that's it.
So
Yeah,
it's like anorexia and
yeah,
then binging.
yeah.
So it's not like you weren't throwing
Yeah,
up.
I didn't really eat that much, but my food choices were obviously bizarre and not healthful. So I didn't have a concept of a health promoting diet. Though, my mom was a good home cook and she was often on Weight Watchers, and so, we ate chicken and, white meat, and but still with plenty of oils and plenty of animal products. And but we did some healthy things back then. But so it was that experience of being anorexic, I think, that made me think like I don't really want to diet for weight loss. Any diet that I have in the future should be about health primarily. And of course, weight loss can happen when you have a healthy diet. But I just realized that I needed to have a boundary around that. And so,
You mean you wanted to make sure that your diet was never about restricting portions, or you're like, because you saw that you could become extreme and
yeah,
start eating
yeah.
really
I
unhealthfully.
had to be careful with it. Later, maybe about 10 years ago, my husband and I did do Weight Watchers for a short period. So or we've done the MyFitnessPal, where you track what you eat. And I think that really helps with portion control. So that really didn't trigger extreme behavior. That was
Right.
good for showing me that I was eating more than I needed to eat.
That's good, because with like in Weight Watchers, you don't want to only eat 5 points a day, right? It's like, because if you have that anorexic mindset,
Yeah.
you might try to say, oh, I want to get under 5 points. I want to only eat,
Right.
or
Yeah.
whereas you're supposed to really be eating 23 points a day. And so Weight Watchers is like, we want you to get to this
Yeah.
goal. We want you to eat 20 points a day, maybe not more than 23 or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So they try to keep you within parameters. And also MyFitnessPal, you maybe stay in 1,800 calories,
Right.
or so at least but you wouldn't be like, oh, I only want to eat 300 calories a day.
But neither of those things, those were like a short-term experience to be informative of how I could eat better. But it was like that level of calculation that, and also their food recommendations didn't help me feel better,
Right.
and so it was not sustainable. It didn't engage me. It didn't feel healthy, but it was helpful for portion control at that time. So in my 20s, I worked at Bastyr University, and
Which is the naturopathic clinic here.
yeah, it's a college, and I worked at the clinic for the college. So I was surrounded by health nuts, and that was awesome and fun, like the people who worked in the admin roles and also the students that we knew. So there was always a way to learn about a different elimination diet or a cleanse. And I had some depression, and I just happened to mention it to one of the docs, and she said, you should come in and do an elimination diet because you have dark circles under your eyes, which indicates you have a food sensitivity or food allergy. And so I did that. And instead of having my blood tested, I did an elimination diet and slowly tested the foods. So I think it was a few weeks that I didn't eat any allergens, and then you slowly test them. And if you have a reaction, you don't eat for like 3 or 4 days any of the other foods, and then you add another, so you can see what your response is. So that became a really long, drawn out process that lasted about 6 months. And I did find some things that I really responded to, but I didn't and so it made me a little afraid of food, so that affected my eating for a long time. But I did eat such a clean diet that I lost like 25 pounds, and I did feel a lot better. But but it didn't help me achieve a healthier diet in the long run. I mean, I did eliminate some things, but I was not counseled, which I think is really interesting now, about how to address gut health,
Yeah.
which was sort of like, why can't I eat gluten? Like, why, why do I respond to these things? And the answer was that it may be just a problem with my gut. But then no one, pushed me to continue seeing somebody to address gut health, which I know so much more about that now, so it seems like obvious that they would have helped me heal my gut back then, but it didn't happen for whatever reason. Like, I didn't pursue the appointment, and the supervising doc didn't recommend it. And so I don't know. It's a question I have about that.
This is where we have to advocate for ourselves as patients, because I've had that experience where the doctor kind of just says something in passing. And what they really should have done was made the entire appointment be about that. You should just heal your gut, and then like, goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, how? What?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's we need to advocate for ourselves, but they, knowing what you know now, those doctors that you were surrounded with every day because you worked in the clinic, those doctors should have been screaming, everyone needs to heal their gut. Yeah. Like, the gut is the first thing. Like, if we don't have a healthy gut, we don't have a healthy anything. Yeah. Like, everyone, quick, come over here. Eat this fermented food. Like, So,
and it is a teaching clinic. So perhaps, they wanted to keep more people coming in that didn't work there or something. I don't know. Maybe it just had to do with, just being an employee and using their clinic. But I wish I would have started addressing my gut health back then, because it would have changed everything.
Well, you're addressing it now.
Yes. So I have 3 children, and I had my last child when I was 40, and then I became very fatigued and tired and had some brain fog. And all of these things I attributed to being a mom of 3 children that were 5 and under. I don't think anyone would dispute that that's a possibility. So it didn't occur to me until my youngest child went to kindergarten, and I was like, great, I'm ready to kick butt now. And then I noticed that I actually felt worse. I didn't have energy to do all the things that I'd been waiting to do while I was a stay-at-home mom. And that was a big wake-up call for me. And I ended up being diagnosed with Epstein-Barr virus, and starting on a protocol with an ND. And I had a little improvement, but not a lot. And I was overweight. And so I thought, well, maybe if I just lose weight, I'll have more energy, and doing this Epstein-Barr protocol will be more effective if I could just lighten the load on my body. So with the permission of my doctor, I started doing keto. And I did keto. I followed Facebook groups, and there are people that I knew at the time that were eating keto. So I ate probably the most unhealthy version of keto, that involves like eating bacon and cheese and
bacon wrapped cheese.
Yeah.
And cheese covered bacon.
Yeah. And then I didn't last long with that. I did feel a little bit more energy from eating keto at first, but then the lack of fiber in my diet was impactful. And I just felt funny, like making a tofu stir fry for my family, and then I ate like a piece of cheese and a piece of bacon and like a small serving of cauliflower or something. It just didn't feel right. So that didn't work out for me long term. So then I got a better protocol that involved eating the foods recommended by Anthony Williams.
Okay,
the medical medium.
The medical medium?
Yeah, and my doctor also recommended his foods for treating EBV.
So you stopped keto.
Stopped keto, and so at that point I started treating EBV with food, and And it was whole food, but it involved, spoonfuls of coconut oil sometimes, and plenty of meat. Anthony Williams doesn't promote meat, but I did eat healthy meat.
Well, the meat your family gets, I mean, just to paint the picture, there's a farm up on Camino Island and these beefalo, which I never knew what they
Yeah.
were till I met you, but it's a hybrid of a buffalo and a cow.
Yeah, they're entirely
They live,
grass-fed, no pesticide,
they live a
beefalo,
wonderful life out
and
on the
they
pasture,
very small
and then
farm.
your family buys like half
Yeah.
of one
Yeah.
and puts it in the
You
freezer.
fry it and no fat comes out. It's really lean and
So your family was looking for really high quality protein. So
Yeah.
you were eating. So even though
Yeah.
it wasn't really the standard American diet.
Yeah.
Although
No.
you were eating the same amount of protein, your same amount of
Yeah.
meat as everyone else.
Yeah.
Just high quality.
Yes.
But here you were really tired every morning. Like you really were fatigued. You
Yeah.
could hardly
Yeah.
function. Could hardly leave the
Yes.
house.
Yeah, and I started having some neurological symptoms like dizziness, and fatigue is considered a neurological symptom as well. And I I had numbness and tingling in my legs, and sometimes in my hands. At one point, like my whole right side of my body got tingly and numb.
There were
Like
several times you thought
these-
you had a stroke because
Yeah,
you were.
I used to constantly ask that kind of question to myself, like, do I need to go to the ER or what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And so that was a stressful time. And
You also had some cardiac symptoms too, right?
yeah, I had some heart palpitations and some arrhythmia, I guess.
Weren't you having shortness of breath also?
That was later.
Okay.
That was later, but that's not what I started out with.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, so I treated my Epstein-Barr using foods that are antiviral and herbs that are antiviral, and I did some detoxes. I did the parasite cleanse, which I'm on again from Dr. J. Davidson.
That's a great episode to listen to.
Yeah, I love that one.
You got a sauna. I remember
I
that.
got a sauna.
You do regular coffee enemas.
Yes.
You would drink the you'd smoothie green giant like 60-ounce green smoothies.
That's when I started with whole food plant-based.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but before that, you were doing the juicing.
I did
of-
juicing.
The Anthony
yeah.
Williams recommends juicing lots of celery. So you're drinking lots of celery
Right.
juice.
For over 2 years, every morning I had a pint of celery juice, and my husband was very supportive in helping make that happen. I bought celery by the case, and
Organic.
yes, organic celery by the case, and I did heal my gut. That was amazing. I've since learned that you can heal your gut using all kinds of vegetables. That I don't think it doesn't have to be celery juice, but that was the protocol that I was using at that time, and the consistency of my application of that I think helped, and yes, things really changed.
So you were on this healing EBV protocol for how many years? Were you working on EBV?
Over 2 years, but it was 2 years that I think I was on the whole food, mostly plant-based, but with plenty of oil.
And beefalo, right?
And also eating meat. That was for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I did have some health improvement, but there was also some, slippage eventually because I'm a mom and I cook for others. I wanted to talk about when I did have my chronic illness, but didn't really realize it was a chronic illness. I relied heavily on dairy products to feed my family. Cottage cheese, melted cheese, kefir. I made kefir that felt good, using good milk. That's probiotic. That was something I felt really good about. I felt that protein was the most important thing to feed my kids. And I no longer think that. I'm no longer worried about that. But I think that, if there was any health benefit to that way of eating, was at least we were eating whole foods. We were eating whole foods all along.
As opposed to putting a bunch of cereal in front of them. Or...
Yeah, we were trying. Yeah. We tried. We weren't perfect, but yeah, we ate. The whole food was our
unprocessed, as much unprocessed food as possible.
Unprocessed food.
Yeah.
But of course, listening to those people who were saying, eat the chicken skin, use everything,
Right.
get the benefit. Maybe even back then it was like drink the red wine because of the benefit of the
resveratrol in red wine,
Yeah.
which is like, just eat the grapes,
Right.
dude. Just eat the grapes.
Right.
You don't need to get alcohol into your system.
Yeah.
You could. I mean,
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. But when my health kind of tanked, then there was no alcohol involved in my diet anymore.
Right.
It was
You've been very strict.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you and Duffy were eating whole food plant-based, no salt, oil, or sugar, I remember thinking it was a little bit extreme and that not something I would choose, but fine for you. Like, that's great
Yeah.
that you were doing it, and I was supportive of you.
Didn't we have you over for dinner? Didn't we have you guys over for dinner and we cooked that way? Or did you cook for us?
I think I tried to cook for you when you came over, and I made something that fit.
Yeah.
Like a coconut milk soup, like a soup with coconut.
You have
like
a really your
thing,
Thai coconut soup is,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
Yeah,
it's
that's-
amazing. We're gonna have to film that, by the way,
Yeah.
and put it in the home Learn Child's home kitchen, because it's memorable. I'm actually like, I can taste it in my mouth right now. It's really good. Your Thai soup, and it's full of vegetables. It's so delicious.
Well, you're lucky because I have some in the refrigerator right now. So.
Oh, I'm gonna have to take some home with me.
Yeah. So my motivation for going whole food plant-based was I saw a practitioner and was told that I had heart disease. And because of the location of the heart disease, that it might be affecting my breathing.
Was this back in June?
This was July 15th,
July
2019.
2019.
Yeah. So I was completely flummoxed because I had been focusing on EBV, not worried about calories, not worried about my weight, focusing on just eating for, high quality food that was antiviral, really wanting to focus on that. And then I heard heart disease, which never occurred to me as a possible problem, though it should, because it's the number one.
It's the number one killer.
It's the number one killer of our country.
Statistically, if you've been eating the standard American diet, you are statistically more likely to die of heart disease than anything else. So this conversation is the most important conversation for everyone to have, because this is the diet proven to reverse heart disease. Now, at the time that you saw the practitioner 6 months ago, can you believe it's been 6 months?
Yeah.
You were noticing, because you go on weekly walks around your neighborhood with a walking partner.
Yeah.
With a neighbor, and you noticed that you were having shortness of breath, along with all your other heart symptoms.
Yep, with all my other heart symptoms and the poor circulation, which was causing the numbness and tingling, and it all was attributed to me in my mind as part of EBV and the EBV attacking different parts of my body. But this practitioner said, "You don't have EBV, you have heart disease." And so, it was like, the brakes squealed, and I changed my direction entirely. He said, whole food plant-based. I went home.
Well, first you came over to our house.
I went over to your house to talk to you about it.
I made fresh rolls.
You fed me fresh rolls, and I'm like, this is delicious. Okay, this is a good start. And so that was strongly motivating for me to hear the word heart disease, because it never occurred to me as something that I should be looking at because of my focus on the antiviral lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I immersed myself in information about eating whole food plant-based. Dr. Esselstyn, because he wrote the book Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, was kind of my gateway educator, which, I found his interview that you did. And I don't remember in what order, but I checked out the I Thrive documentary. I bought the I Thrive documentary because Sean's mom has diabetes.
Sean being your husband.
Sean's my husband. Yes. So, And
And just a little plug, learntoyourhealth.com/I thrive. For people who don't want to check out that docuseries,
okay.
it's really good. Like it
Yeah.
really helps you, right?
Yes, yes, it was great information, and I learned so much about diabetes too, which is important for everyone to learn about because it's so prevalent in our society right now.
Well, type 2 diabetes is a byproduct of eating a high fat, high processed fat, and high meat diet, which it blew my mind. It took me a really long time to get that, even though they kept saying it, because in my mind, I have been indoctrinated that sugar is the cause of diabetes, and
Right.
it's not. I really like how Dr. Garth Davis lays this out in his book Proteinaholic. He really does a good job laying out the studies that prove that people who are on a whole food plant-based diet, even if they ate like a tremendous amount of carbohydrates, they have amazing insulin sensitivity. So they do not have insulin resistance. The more someone eats animal products, which is high fat, even if you eat a chicken breast, there's still a lot of fat in it. The more fat we eat, the more insulin resistance we create. And that blew my mind because I had type 2 diabetes and I reversed it with food. But now that I am eating this way, my insulin resistance or my insulin sensitivity is the best it's ever been, and my glucose is the best it's ever been, which is really exciting because I'm eating like 300 grams of carbs a day, whereas when I was eating really low carb, I wouldn't allow myself to have more than 50 grams of carbs a day, which is very restrictive. But that just goes to show, because people who are type 2 diabetic, who eat, let's say they eat a potato and their blood sugar shoots up, right? Because they're eating a potato with animal products and with oil or butter or whatever. And they're like, oh, see, I can't eat those carbs because my blood sugar goes up and sugar's the problem. Sugar's the problem. No, the insulin resistance is the problem. We need to heal the insulin resistance, just like we need to heal the gut first.
Yeah.
When it comes to blood sugar regulation, carbs are not the devil.
Yeah.
We need to heal the insulin resistance, and then you can eat carbs and your body utilizes it in a healthy way. And that blew my mind. So that whole docuseries, I Thrive docuseries, really lays that out in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
So I love it. So you watch the docuseries.
Yeah, and I think I think one of the main things that I learned from that is that diabetes is it's not just an epidemic, it's a pandemic. The level of illness that we have in our country from diabetes is so high and so serious that that's what we're dealing with, and it's reversible with changing your diet. It's sort of like going back to the days of the Black Plague and people not realizing the cause of it, so not being able to stop it. That's how we're acting. Like there is no solution, and there is. You know, so if you think of the level of dysfunction that's going on,
Right.
you know, that we can solve it, but no one, but it's sort of like a outlier information.
Right.
I no longer feel that way because I've immersed myself in the,
Yes.
you know, doctors and other people that write about this and speak about it. But, you know, go back a year ago, and I thought that taking medication, managing blood sugars prolongs life. I thought that my husband's mom was doing well. She's managing her blood sugar, eating lots of dairy and meat and vegetables too, and taking the medication, and I think like she's doing really well. But people who are managing their blood sugars with medication and a high protein diet are not prolonging their life. This is a statistical reality.
Yeah.
So that blew my mind, you know, that there is a way to reverse this, but it's not what all the diabetics are talking about or being taught or being told by their doctors. So
No, it actually really angers me. So I've helped people for the last 8 years now, coming up on 9 years. I've helped people reverse diabetes, And there's countless people who have gone to their doctor 20 years, been kept on metformin, or insulin and metformin or other drugs. And then they go to their doctor after working with me for under 3 months. They go to their doctor and they no longer have type 2 diabetes, no longer have it. And the doctor doesn't even ask a question. The doctor just goes, okay, they go, I want to get off this med. Like, here's my blood work. My blood work shows I can get it off this medication. The doctor takes them off the medication. The doctor's been prescribing the medication for 20 years. And they go, don't you want to know what I did? And like 99% of the time, the doctors do not want to know. They don't want to know. They don't want to know what diet and lifestyle changes cause their patient to no longer need medication for the rest of their life. That is the definition of health.
Yeah.
Symptom-free, on no medications. That is the goalpost. That's the goal for all of us, to be on 0 medications because we are so healthy we don't need it.
Well, yeah. And I think something that you keep showing us through your interviews is that our medical system is not centered around health.
It's not centered around achieving health.
Yeah.
It's maintaining disease.
Yeah, right. It's managing disease, which is different. It's different than achieving health.
Yeah. So we have to be outliers. I love that you use that word, but we do. We have to be the salmon. We have to swim upstream to not be a statistic. And so eating, like you said, this is kind of extreme. I get it. I'm the Ashley from 3 years ago would not think that this was an easy way to eat. But now the Ashley today is like, this is the only way I want to eat for the rest of my life. It's delicious and I feel amazing.
But even if people choose to eat meat, they can get tremendous health benefits just from increasing their vegetable consumption.
Yeah, tell them about
especially
Sean.
like variety of vegetable consumption. So you don't just add one vegetable. So I wanted to talk about my husband, Sean. He said about 10 years ago, so he would have been in his mid-30s. He's a first grade teacher. He used to teach the kids how to do embroidered self-portraits. So using a needle, threading a needle for 24 kids because they weren't able to do that. They're not able to do that in first grade. So he had to help everyone. And then all of a sudden he needed glasses. He needed readers to do that. And he had heard or read somewhere about improving your eyesight by eating a lot of vegetables. So he just increased his vegetable content, reversed that problem. Yeah.
Yes.
And he was still
eating
whenever that
meat.
was, we were still into whole foods of all kinds. And so he just
eating dairy and eggs, and he was still
just amped up
eating
his
all that.
vegetables.
Just add more vegetables.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And so he reversed that. And
I love it. Yeah, we can think about it. It's all the antioxidants. You're getting the vitamins and the minerals and all the nutrients our bodies need.
Yeah, and I think Dr. Furman is a big. You interviewed him, right?
Yes, Dr. Joel Furman.
Dr. Joel Furman, and he is a whole food plant-based doctor. But I think he recommends or says that eating like up to 7% meat is healthy. And I just think for some people, it's easier to trying to calculate 7% of your diet being meat. But I think that kind of opens the door to, if you don't want to be extreme, you could just say like, sure, I can eat meat sometimes. It just has to be under 7%. And then I can get all the health benefits of eating this way without restricting myself. I can, eat whatever it is at a certain holiday or your birthday or anniversary or something if you need to.
Or like, I think it's like a one or two meals a week would contain fish or meat. But Joel Furman, his whole food plant-based diet, he calls it the nutritarian diet. And I've adapted so much from him because he says, for example, onions and mushrooms. Like you want to eat a half a cup of mushrooms a day.
Right.
And he shows the studies where, and he brings all the information beautifully together, but he shows if you eat half a cup of mushrooms a day, and even the plain white ones, doesn't have to be the fancy ones, make sure it's organic, cooked, and with half a cup of onions every day, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it was a significant reduction of breast cancer, significant reduction of like all cancers. It's a huge,
Yeah.
huge support system to the immune system. It actually has a chemical, mushrooms, a very healthy chemical that stops new vasculature growing to a tumor. So if you currently have a little bit of cancer, everyone has cancer cells in their body that the immune system's cleaning out.
Right.
But if your body's developing a tumor right now, because you won't know for another few years, because tumors take years to really get to the point where we notice them. Most tumors grow slowly. And so the body's creating new vasculature to the tumors. Just something as simple as eating half a cup of mushrooms, which is almost nothing. You could hide it. If you don't like the taste of mushrooms, you could probably hide that in a soup. You could probably hide it somewhere, but just using it as medicine, it's just one example that it reduces the ability of the body. It almost shuts it off, the body's ability to create new vascular to a tumor. And so you're just cutting it off before the tumor ever gets to grow. I mean, I'd rather eat half a cup of mushrooms for the rest of my life than be put on chemo. It's like that makes total sense to me. Yeah. I'd rather pay for it now than pay for it later. Yeah. So when many actually of the experts that we follow do kinds of great things where they say, no, you eat broccoli because of this, and you want to eat cabbage because of that.
Right.
And you're healing this part of your body with beets. Like beets are wonderful for the liver and amazing actually for the cardiovascular system. They increase the nitric oxide and heal the endothelial lining of the heart and of all the arteries. So it's like every single food we go through, and we do this in the Learn Your Health Home Kitchen membership. You can go through and when you're eating a food and you're like, I'm healing my liver right now, and I'm healing my eyes right now by eating this, and I'm healing my brain right now by eating that.
Yes.
It's so like you're eating with a purpose, and it's delicious food, but you're also like, you're healing your body. Yeah. So I love that a lot of these experts that we've been following do that. But Joel Fuhrman says, he's like, I think I've heard 10%, you've heard 7%, but he basically says, you're significantly reducing. It's not meat at every meal. It's maybe once a week.
Right.
So some people can have that flexibility. Yeah. I had to really ease into this because I was a huge believer that meat was the most important food in the entire world. Yeah. Because, I really bought the Atkins. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. Because people that I really, really looked up to, mentors of mine, said it was the most important thing in the world. I had several mentors say that it was I really I feel like I drank the Kool-Aid big time on that. Yeah. And so I had one meatless meal, and I kind of freaked out about it, before, even just preparing a meatless meal. I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, that was doable. So I really had to ease into this. Yeah. And whereas my husband just woke up and said, he woke up 2 years ago and said, never again will I eat meat, which helped to reduce my meat intake because I stopped buying it for the household. So we only ate it when we went to other places outside the house. But it constantly surprised me how good I felt not eating meat. And it's okay to ease into it. Yeah. And it's okay just to go, meatless Mondays, or I'm only going to eat meat at dinner, or, you can ease into it. Yeah.
And all the whole food, plant-based recipes, or the way that I chose to eat it, it didn't taste delicious right away, but it really only took a matter of days for me. I mean, maybe a week, maybe 10 days.
Well, you're an amazing cook too, so I have to give you props. My husband is waving at you and giving you a thumbs up.
Well, isn't that why we decided to make the website?
Yes, we decided to do the membership because we're both really good cooks. Yeah. And I love your cooking. We should just hire each other to cook for each other.
I know. I wish we lived closer.
I know.
Like next door.
Well, you never know what the future brings. Yeah. Maybe we'll be neighbors one day.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be great. We live 40 minutes away from each other, but it's worth the drive to come eat your food. So that's why we did the membership, so that we could share with you guys our recipes, which I'm still thinking, there's I'm still thinking about the lunch I just had because it's so delicious.
I don't think, like I was saying, I don't think I could have done so well eating whole food, transitioning into whole food plant-based without Ashley as a friend and the experience that she had and the pointers. And so that's what we want to be for everyone who joins the membership. We just want to be, if you don't have someone in your community or in your family that's up for it yet, you may find them. But, in the meantime, we could all be that for each other. We could be your friend that eats whole food plant-based.
Naomi and I are your friend, here to support you in eating more whole foods in your life, eating more plants in your life.
So I have a couple of favorite stories.
I want to hear 'em.
about healing with whole food plant-based. Okay, so these
Yes.
aren't my stories, but one is someone who has been on your show, and I don't think he'd mind if I told his story. Eric Thornton.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so he told me about his experience of going whole food plant-based. So 7 years ago, maybe a little bit longer now, but 7 years ago, he had a really serious heart attack. It's a kind of heart attack that kills many people, and it didn't kill him. So that's great. So after his heart attack, he became a vegetarian. And he ate an egg white omelet every morning with a teaspoon of coconut oil. And he ate lots of vegetables the rest of the day. And he had like a piece of cheese, like an ounce of cheese every couple weeks. That would be added into his diet. Vegetarian, ate an egg in the morning, probably cooked in oil, other things cooked in oil, but used coconut oil, obviously was
But no
keeping
fish,
track-
no meat, no fried, food.
And 3 years after his heart attack, his cardiologist said that he needed emergency surgery. And so,
Because his clogs got so bad in his heart.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he had heard of eating whole food plant-based to reverse heart disease. I don't remember his pathway for learning about that, but I know he did end up working with doctors at True North, and he spoke to Dr. Esselstyn. I guess Dr. Esselstyn will talk to anyone who wants to talk to him. Eventually, you can get
Dr.
a call back.
Esselstyn called him. It was actually really neat. Eric was, and I haven't heard the whole story, but Eric told me this, that when he was walking into his cardiologist appointment to talk about the surgery, the emergency surgery, Dr. Esselstyn called him back. And Dr. Esselstyn talked to him and laid it out and said, stop eating that one egg a day or whatever.
Yeah.
Stop doing the oil.
Yeah.
And stop doing the cheese. Those three
Right.
things. If he had stopped doing those the few years before, he would have already had reversed his heart disease.
Right. And Dr. Esselstyn will say things like, if people who are like basically at death's door have tried everything, he will just say, give me 16 days. So this way of eating can actually arrest and start to reverse problems very quickly.
Very
So
fast.
if you're considering experimenting with whole food plant-based eating, you don't have to change your life. You could just do a cleanse, like a whole food plant-based cleanse, and see what happens, and just because people have reversed very serious conditions. So I'll get back to Eric's story. So he had angina so bad that...
Which is chest pain.
Chest pain. He had bad chest pains. And he needed help walking. He needed to be pulled up out of his chair to walk. He was breathless when walking. He was weak.
And he was in his 40s.
Yeah, wasn't sure of his age.
I'm pretty sure he was in his 40s. And also he was kind of fit because he was, before he got into the work he does now, he was a contractor. He's always worked with his hands.
Wow.
So it wasn't like he was out of shape.
So he, cut out the oil and the egg and the piece of cheese every 2 weeks, just cut out those things, cut out all oils. And within 3 days, his angina was gone.
Yeah.
And within 3 months, he was off 7 of his medications, including high blood pressure medication, doctor's orders, because his blood pressure was getting too low. And he didn't need surgery.
Yeah, so he decided not to do the emergency surgery and instead try the diet. And the diet worked.
And now he's a healthy guy, walks his dogs, looks fit.
Doesn't have any heart issues, any heart clogs. Yeah. I mean, just think about it. When you hear that the medical system, the cost of heart disease is, whatever billions of dollars, right? Replace the word cost with profit. A diabetic, and I've heard that a diabetic costs $12,000 a year, right?
Yes, I've heard that.
And I think it's more now. But to manage diabetes costs $12,000 a year. That isn't a cost. That's a profit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies that want to protect their profits and that would not want people empowered and healing their diseases. There are scores of people out there that want you to be sick because it profits them. Not so sick you die because they want to keep making a profit. Just sick enough to be on medications and need surgeries and need stints and need their procedures. They don't want you healthy. So that's another motivator for me, because I want to completely blow all the statistics out of the water. I don't want to be any of those statistics. I don't want to, die of any of those. I want to blow everything.
Yeah.
Everything out of the water. I want to live to be 100 and totally healthy and running marathons at 100,
Yeah.
That's a goalpost for me. And so we have to navigate our lives knowing that all the marketing, all the information out there in the mainstream is designed to keep us in that box called sick and on medications.
Yeah.
And it's our job to be the outliers and the mavericks.
Right. And even the most well-intentioned doctor, if surgery and medications are what they have in their toolbox, they're not informed in how to keep you healthy. Right. So it's not that the individuals involved in the system are all
right,
but they're just using what they've been taught. And if our medical schools are supported by big business making money, then they're going to make sure that what doctors learn are, to use their product.
Yeah. And the thing is, if a surgery can save someone's life, do it. If a medication can save someone's life, do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's preventive medicine is about catching it before you need that. Right. And I'm not saying that the surgery shouldn't exist.
Oh yeah.
I'm saying that when you go, most doctors, that's the only option they'll give you. Mm-hmm. This is my problem when you look at naturopathic medicine versus ND or MD, like going to a medical doctor. They will both look at the same blood work and derive completely different things. Mm-hmm. An MD will wait until you're sick enough to give you a medication. An ND will say, okay, you're starting to go in the wrong direction. Yeah. Let's change some things now so you won't need to get on medication.
Yes.
So prevention is what 100% of listeners can do right now. We can all prevent things by shifting little things in our diet and our lifestyle. If we want to get really gung-ho about it, dive into the whole food plant-based diet, because it can significantly reduce your chances of dying of a heart attack.
Right. And so, and yeah, it's just interesting to see what kind of results a healthy person can get, that they, if you think you're doing well, just give it a try. Just do it as an experiment and see if you notice any differences. But people have gotten very dramatic results and extended life. They get to live by changing their diet. So another one of my favorite stories, again, it's not my story, but it's Dr. Greger's story. And it's, I think, what led him to a lifelong job to educate people about nutrition. His website, nutritionfacts.org, is an incredible resource. And he does that all without any payment, because he never, or any advertising, because he never wants people to think that there's profit associated with him sharing information about health and
What was
nutrients.
the website again?
Nutritionfacts.org.
Nutritionfacts.org. I've been to it.
It's a great resource. It's a great resource.
I actually really like it. I like those videos he makes.
Yeah, some are videos and some are articles. But it's I've actually started using it because I was listening to his book, How Not to Die, and he would say something like some statistical information about eating chicken and prostate cancer. And I think like, whoa, I want to share that. So rather than taking a picture of the book and, sharing the picture, I go to his website and, everything that I've looked for from the book, there's either an article or a video about it that I could share with whoever it is that I'm thinking of. But he has a great story. So when he was a young child, he was 5 or 6. His grandmother was in her 60s, and she had heart disease. And she had had all the interventions that they were able to do. She had had bypass surgeries and I don't know what else. Mm-hmm. But she had debilitating chest pain and was in a wheelchair and couldn't walk. And she was sent home from the hospital, basically to die, given a couple more months to live. And the family was devastated, that's just like everything had been done possible to help her.
And being in your 60s is so young.
Yeah, yeah. And so the family was devastated. She checked herself into a Pritikin center, and I don't know the details of Pritikin diet, but is a whole food plant-based diet. I don't know specifically what else is entailed, but within a short period, she was not just walking, but she started walking 10 miles a day. And then she lived 30 more years and saw her grandchild graduate from medical school.
So that's why he was excited to become a doctor, because he saw her heal herself?
Yes, he wanted to become a doctor to help heal help heal people the way his grandmother was healed. And so he was accepted to 17 different medical schools, and he decided to choose which school to attend based on which had the most nutrition training. So he chose Tufts University, which offered 21 hours of nutrition in their medical program.
That's a lot. That's a lot of hours. Most MDs get maybe 1 to 5 hours worth of nutrition training.
Yeah. So every day, while I'm cooking or eating or living my life, I ponder the fact that we have a tool to reverse or prevent disease, and doctors are not being taught that tool. All of the doctors that I've mentioned and that Ashley has interviewed, they're all outliers. They've all gone rogue, against their profession.
How dare they use food to heal people instead of medication? How dare they? I bet the AMA is just frothing at the bit. How dare they heal people?
Oh, I'm sure they are. They have resisted. Yeah, they've done.
We're the resistance, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're going to rise up.
Yeah. So.
Got my carrot in one hand and my kale in the other. So 6 months ago, I can't believe it's only been 6 months. 6 months ago, you become totally whole food plant-based overnight, jump on board, and 3 days later, your shortness of breath, your heart issues go away, right?
Oh, well, I don't know if my shortness of breath improved that quickly, but it definitely improved. So that was summer, so I was walking a lot for exercise.
Well, within the first week, you texted me and said that your walking partner was like, wow, you're going really fast.
Was it only a week?
It was like a week after.
Wow, yeah.
Well, let's go back in our text messages, because I'm pretty sure it was like 7. You're like 7 days on.
Yeah.
I'm eating this for 7 days.
Yeah.
And then you kind of didn't believe your walking partner. You're like, maybe they're just tired. But you're like, I'm not walking different. They're just tired.
Yeah.
But so then you started walking with your kids, and your kids were like trying to keep up to you, whereas you normally are the one behind them.
Yep.
And that's when you're like, oh, I am walking faster.
I was downtown with my. He was 9 at that time, and he is used to walking in front of me and waiting for me and kind of commenting that I'm kind of slow. And we were walking together, and he looked over at me and said, I'm trying to keep up with you.
And he's athletic.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm going to cry. That was very moving for me, because I do like to walk quickly, and I've always liked to walk and hike and things like that. So to have restrictions in my movement, was something that I'd become accustomed to, but it also was very uncomfortable.
You don't want to feel like a prisoner in your own body. You're so young,
Yeah.
And no matter what age you are, you're so young. No matter whoever is listening, no matter whatever age you are young.
Yeah.
Because there are 100-year-old women running marathons. If you can run, we can live we can have youth in our body no matter what age. But here you are, a young mother, and you were feeling so restricted in your body. You were exhausted. You couldn't walk fast. You were fatigued.
So first of all, I don't think you should call me a young mother. I think that's misleading.
Okay,
I'm 48.
You know what?
I'm almost 50 years old.
But but in the last few years, you started out as a mother in your 30s.
Yeah.
And I'm about to be 40. So 40 now is my mind has to be young.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And you could be like, I'm a young 70-year-old. Like
Sure.
whoever's listening, just say the word young in front of your age and then make it so. I am a young 99-year-old. Make it so. We need to tell ourselves because I think we have, in order to be a maverick, in order to pull ourselves out of that matrix where we're, driving through fast food joints, eating fried food on medications, we have to pull ourselves out of the belief system that age equals illness and disease and debilitation.
Right.
Because it doesn't. It doesn't. So you are a youthful, you still have youth in you, lady, but you're a wonderful mother and you were trapped. You were trapped in a prison.
Yeah. Yeah, I have active children, especially my younger two, and I want to be involved in their lives. So I do have to be able to keep up with them and be playful and be energetic and, be able to get out there and do things because otherwise, like, I don't get to partake of their...
Right. So the whole summer you kept saying, how am I going to get my parents on this? How am I going to get my parents to do this?
Right.
They're in their 70s. Your dad recently had a heart surgery from something he was born with, but that it manifests later. But it happens because of wear and tear on the heart. So we can decrease wear and tear.
Exacerbated by wear and tear.
Right. And we can decrease wear and tear with diet, which Dr. Esselstyn points out and teaches that there's certain foods that really help to heal the heart. And there's foods that hurt the heart.
Right. And my parents actually lost a substantial amount of weight. My mom plateaued, but my dad is down to his age 25 weight. I don't know.
You skipped ahead. So you all summer long wanted to get them on it.
Definitely.
And they were kind of like low carb and keto's the way to go, or they're
which made me worry as I had more education around the longevity of people eating keto. Like keto is good for some short-term things, which is why I wanted to mention that they did lose weight using keto. Right. But I was worried about them and using keto in an ongoing way. And so my parents are very traditional eaters. My mom's a great cook, but very traditional in the sense that my dad has always liked meat in the dinner. Meat's in the meal. Meat.
There's a bit of old school rigidity.
Yeah.
And you were worried that they would not take well to this diet.
Worried? I didn't have any idea that they would ever take to it. But I started talking to my mom, at a very vulnerable time when my dad was having open heart surgery. I was reading one of my books, I think it was Dr. Furman. I don't remember which one, but I was just telling her tidbits I might have been reading Dr. Esselstyn's book even. But anyway, she heard what I had to say and she believed what I said. But instantly, sort of negative messages came up to her, like, what will we eat on Christmas?
Right.
What will we eat for Thanksgiving? What will we eat? And, if you've transitioned to eating a different way, you just simply think will you eat delicious food that you enjoy? We don't have to eat the foods that we've always eaten if they're made of eggs and flour and butter.
And
we don't have to.
She was worried about calcium.
Yep,
and she was worried about, because we've been taught that you get your calcium from dairy, which is a complete marketing lie. Actually, the cultures that eat more, the cultures that eat the most dairy products are actually the ones with the most osteoporosis.
Yeah.
And the ones that are most plant-based have the most stronger bones, because we're getting our calcium from plants.
Right.
So she was worried about certain
that
things.
I might be irresponsible in raising my kids, and not giving them adequate nutrition. I can experiment however I want. I'm an adult.
Don't experiment on kids.
Yeah, that I shouldn't. That was, and so she really worried about them. And then they watched Forks Over Knives and The Game Changers. And I talked to...
Which are on Netflix. I don't know if Forks Over Knives is on anymore, but Forks Over Knives is really good as an introduction, a good one. And Game Changers is very entertaining.
It's very inspiring.
So
it's inspiring and entertaining. Yeah. So they watched both of those, and then apparently they were sold and started eating whole food plant-based, and they're just getting better and better. And even my dad doesn't want to go back. He's been great. He's a master at smoking turkey. Like we always wanted Papa smoked turkey for our birthday. We could choose whatever we wanted. Most of the members of my family choose smoked turkey, and my dad made that for Thanksgiving as well. And this year at Thanksgiving, we had a whole food plant-based feast, which was bowls. And we filled the table with different things, like different toppings to put on grains or potatoes. And it was phenomenal and delicious and colorful and wonderful. But my dad just mentioned, he said, I sort of miss making the turkey. He liked contributing in that way. But they didn't go whole food plant-based until this fall. And already by Thanksgiving, he wasn't wishing he was eating the smoked turkey, which he is renowned for in our family. He just kind of missed being the one that made the smoked turkey.
Well, tell him he can smoke vegetables if he wants to, because I have smoked some vegetables in a Traeger, and it was really good.
Yeah.
So that's a fun that's a fun thing, and he could smoke some tofu if he wanted to, but smoked mushrooms are really delicious. Yeah. Well, so your mom though, and her testimonials in our membership, the Learn to Health Home Kitchen, she had her arthritis go away.
Yes. So she has blood clots. She had blood clots after a surgery and then ended up having a blood clot and had to go to the hospital. And so she's on blood thinners, and she would like to be off blood thinners. So she's motivated to eat whole food plant-based and specifically eat some foods that are better for your circulatory system, like beets and I don't remember what else right now, but she's trying to eat those every day. And but a side effect of her trying to get to her goal of getting off her medication is that her arthritis went away.
Being on the whole food plant-based diet, her pain is gone, her arthritis is gone. They've both lost weight. And your dad, who has been doing...
They feel better,
He does some kind of rehab gym because of the heart surgery he had.
He was the best in the gym.
He was beating everyone else.
Yeah,
and in the Game Changers, the movie, they talk about how your endurance immediately goes up.
Yeah.
So athletes notice right away when they go whole food plant-based, no salt, sugar, oil, that their endurance goes up immediately.
And also, so for the type of surgery that he had, the valve replacement surgery, it's it's my understanding that everyone who gets that surgery is on statins for the rest of their life and is on high blood pressure medicine for the rest of their life. And the last visit when he was at the doctors are experimentally letting him off of statins. And so that's wonderful. I think after listening to Dr. Greger, there's hibiscus and flax, and I don't remember what else, but hibiscus is as good as one of the regular high blood pressure meds, functions identically, so I think there are ways that you can, by not only improving your blood pressure by eating whole food plant-based, but there are foods that you can eat or drink
absolutely
to control your high blood pressure, so you don't need to be on the high blood pressure medication easier. So I'm proud of my parents for advocating for that and for making it happen. And I'm very relieved, as it's like a dream come true, when you hear about something that is so preventative of harder health conditions, and your parents voluntarily do it. It's my mom's even become a contributor, helping us with the recipes, trying recipes, creating recipes.
She's a really good cook also.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah.
And your kids have you're allowing them the flexibility. You're not restricting them. If they want to go eat meat when they're out, they still do what they want to do. But at home, they actually have embraced this a lot more than you thought they would. And even your oldest, do you want to talk about that?
My oldest son is a foodie, and he's 13. He just turned 13, and I think he's getting to an age where he's able to intellectualize and understand the things that I'm saying that Ashley says and things he may overhear on podcasts that I have playing in the kitchen. And so when I changed my diet, he was up for changing his diet too at home. And was good about getting some exercise, walking home from school before it started raining or being cold. And he lost 11 pounds. And I just, anecdotally, I would say that his emotions were much easier for him to manage.
Yes.
And that was a positive thing for the whole family. You know, when you have a tween, now a teen, who manages their emotions better, you know, wherever you are, and then there's an improvement, a big noticeable improvement. That was great for all of us.
That Duffy, my husband, also shared with me that he felt more even keel, that he felt more comfortable in his own skin.
Oh.
After eating this way, after transitioning. So there is an emotional component.
No, I want to one up that, because I'm going to be competitive with Duffy right now and say that that I actually feel happy, you know, and that's something I've struggled with depression, and obviously when you have fatigue and a chronic illness that involves fatigue and different health problems and anxiety, heart changes that the cardiologist attributed to anxiety, you know, which I think is just a physical manifestation of a problem, in my case. But
emotional manifestation of a physical problem.
Yeah.
Like you were feeling in a state, you were feeling a state that your body was in, but it was a reflection of the state of health that you were in.
Yeah, it was triggered by a physical situation. So, but not the other way around. I guess I just don't think the heart problem is caused by anxiety. I think that there's a health problem that causes the anxiety.
We've talked about this, and you identify your anxiety as a reflection of your current health.
I've experienced both kinds of anxiety, but I think I think doctors, I would like a doctor to dig deeper if their solution is, or if their diagnosis is, oh, well, you have a heart arrhythmia, which we associate with anxiety. That's, to me, attributing it to like a mental condition that I have, rather than a health problem triggering
anxiety. Yeah, exactly. You feel the heart palpitation.
Why do you have the anxiety? Yeah, why do you have the anxiety?
You feel the heart palpitation.
There's disharmony of some kind in your body. And so
you weren't sick enough for them to do something about it.
Right. And I'm thinking back, I haven't been back to a cardiologist, and I'm going to try to see a local ND cardiologist who you recommended. I don't think he's been on your show yet.
He has not been on my show yet, but I'll give a shout out to Dr. Pornadelli, who is basically a cardiologist, a naturopath. He's a naturopath, but he has got the status in the naturopathic community as a cardiologist. He was the
cardiology instructor at Bastyr.
Right. And he's pretty great. I mean, he's not specifically like whole food plant based. He doesn't, but he agrees that this diet's great. But he's also really, really great he helps patients get off of meds.
Right.
He likes to work with natural remedies, and he's fine with working with meds if the person needs to get on it.
But he's also interested in healing. So I want to see him because when I saw a cardiologist, I think the cardiologist just checked on my complaint, which was arrhythmia, and said, "Oh, that's the type of arrhythmia we normally see associated with anxiety." I didn't need medicated. Conversation over. It wasn't from that cardiologist that I learned about my developing heart disease, and I would have to go back and say, "Could you look at the test and tell me if you see anything of concern? Is there developing heart disease?" I would assume that there would be, that didn't all.
Well, it wasn't enough.
That didn't manifest in 1 year, that it was building up from.
Well, you talk to cardiologists and they'll say, because I've had people say this, "Oh, you look good for your age."
Right. You fit the profile.
Your heart looks good for your age. You only have 40% blockage.
Right.
You're good. I mean, they're not going to put in a stint until maybe they'll get you on some meds, but that you have to get sick enough for them to do something.
Yeah.
And that's the really frustrating part. Or they'll put you on, whatever their heart healthy diet is, which does not reverse or prevent heart disease. And this is the infuriating thing. That's why I love the interview with Dr. Esselstyn, because he has the world's longest study on reversing heart disease with diet.
any interview with Dr. Esselstyn is great because he has a single message, and it's consistent, and he thoroughly knows it. He's been touting the same diet. I think he made some changes involving gluten or something recently.
Really?
No, maybe not. He's made some changes along the way at some point, but I don't remember what they were. But
recently, in the last few years, he added more balsamic vinegar because of the nitric oxide.
Oh, that wasn't part of the original?
He said on our interview that he's had this new thing, which is he gets a cardiology patients to do. Yeah, 6 like every 2 hours you're eating a steamed greens with like you're dripping it into your body. So, get a bowl of steamed green vegetables, rotate between those. He gives you 15 different vegetables to choose from. Steam them, put some balsamic vinegar on it and chew it, and and swallow. And
so no smoothies. Yeah, no smoothies. Like I like.
Well, I don't think he would have a problem if it's just like. I really like the quote in Proteinaholic by Dr. Garth Davis. He says, the nearly perfect diet you follow is better than the perfect diet you don't follow.
Right.
So, you know what? If you have to do one of your servings of vegetables has to be a smoothie in order for you to get it in you, then do it. Because I'm not, I know some experts are like, never do smoothies because you should chew your food.
Sure. Yeah, I could never eat a blender full of kale if I had to chew it all. And I literally fill my Vitamix with kale with a little bit of fruit on top. And I like that now. Like, I didn't start out liking that. It was slow.
You're hardcore, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've healed yourself. You don't have EBV.
Right.
You've lost weight as a byproduct. You're not even trying to.
Yes, I lost 40 pounds. I lost 25 pounds, just like a lot of the docs say. Just the anti-inflammatory, eliminating dairy and sugar for a month. A lot of people who are overweight can lose around 25 pounds in a month, and that happened for me. And I've lost 40 pounds, and I can assure you that I am not trying, because I am making carrot cakes. My husband wants to go whole food plant-based, but he needs to really ease in. I'm trying to please my family. I'm trying to impress kids. And so I'm making cream cheese out of cashews, which I wouldn't eat if I were serious about weight loss. I'm eating carrot cake sometimes.
This carrot cake is a whole food plant-based carrot cake. And you've got a pudding you just mentioned. The pudding's made of tofu, but so all these foods are still very healthy.
Oh, they're very healthy,
but they're not conducive to rapid weight loss.
Yeah, and also, I eat plenty of food. I never deprive myself. If I like what I've made for dinner, I will have a couple of servings. Yeah. So I've lost, and I continue to lose, and I just got below a weight that I haven't been for a long time. 210. I'm below 210 for the first time. I have an 8-year-old child, so I can't remember. It was probably when after my pregnancy with him, I actually gained weight. That was when EBV became a problem. And I actually gained weight after my 3rd child, which was the first time that had happened. And I went down, up from, around 200 to almost 250 eventually,
So the weight you are now is before your last child. So that was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And
I continue to lose, ounces. I'm not focused on the weight loss, but I continue to lose, and I'm really looking forward to being below 200 again.
You're going to get there.
Yeah.
And you're just eating super healthy food every day. You're not feeling deprived. And there's some recipes that we put in the membership that taste amazing, like the cream cheese, which blows my mind. Your kids fight over it. It's so delicious.
Yeah.
And the carrot cake is super, super healthy carrot cake. So delicious.
It doesn't have any maple syrup. It's sweetened with all fruit, blended fruit.
Yeah, but all the fibers in there.
Yes, all the fibers in there.
I've actually lost just over 80 pounds, and I noticed that my weight loss is consistent, because my problem's always been my liver. My liver gets really angry and inflamed in my past whenever I tried to lose weight since my 20s. So I've had this problem where I go to lose weight and because my liver can't metabolize it, it would become distended. It would stick out of my body beyond my ribs and be very swollen. And my blood work would show that my liver enzymes were through the roof, and I would get an ultrasound and it would show that it was a very angry liver. So my problem's always been detox around weight loss. And so I'd lose a little bit and then get really sick and then gain more and then try a different diet. And so a lot of diets are focused on weight loss, but not nutrifying the body and not healing the body. Whereas this one is all about nutrifying and healing the body, and weight loss could be a byproduct. So I'm finding that weight loss is the easiest with this, because you're full, you're satisfied, you're nutrifying every cell in your body. My liver is the healthiest it's been in a very, very long time. And I'm just like, everything's getting better and better and better. But coming to your house today, we haven't seen you in about a week. And I just noticed, like, your skin is glowing. Like, you look so vibrant. Like, the energy coming off you.
That is an important side effect of this diet to discuss, especially as we get older. You don't even notice your skin kind of getting rougher. My skin is so soft now and continues to get even softer. And I have been using a sauna, so that's probably helping. But just changing my diet, just eliminating sugar, oils, and animal products has changed my skin so much. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's awesome. I love it. So your husband is slowly transitioning. Anything he noticed when he started to just eat more this way? He's still eating meat occasionally. He's not 100%, but he is like transitioning more and more into this way and just seeing how it feels. Anything that he's noticed that he's liked that's improved in his health?
Well, he's had great bowel movements,
which is perfect. All of us, by the way. That's a side effect. Everyone has perfect
about that all
bowel
the time.
movements.
We won't go into detail here in the.
Well, I have a whole episode on how to have the perfect poop, and it does include a lot of whole fiber.
Yeah.
But yes, and bowel movements, we should be having at least 3 a day, well formed. They're so good for detoxifying the body. And if you're not pooping 3 times a day in well-formed poops that you don't have to strain at all, then you are constipated, and that is damaging to your body. That's actually the potential to create cancer in the body. So it also helps to regulate hormones. It's pretty amazing that by having good bowel movements, we are helping our hormones balance. We're helping prevent cancer. We're helping to detoxify, get rid of the toxins. We're ensuring that our gut flora is in balance. So many good things. But has he noticed anything with energy or mood or?
Nothing that he's commented on yet, because like I said, he's easing into it, so if he eats whole food, plant-based for 3 days in a row, that's like a record, So he's always loved vegetables. And actually that used to be kind of a concern that he brought to me, like, can we have more vegetables in our diet? And I was telling you earlier, I don't think I've said yet in this interview, that that it was just so easy for me to fall back on dairy products and just trying to make foods that appeal to the kids, that were,
here, have some mac and cheese. Here, have some
moderately
hot dogs.
healthy, like homemade, home cooking. But like, I just didn't have energy to.
Yeah, you were sick.
Include. And so, I've obviously done a 180 on that, and now it's all vegetables. And so he's happy. He's always asked for that and wanted that, and so that's a part of his diet. And he just is not ready to be 100%.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Wherever someone is.
Yeah.
I just want everyone to get more vegetables.
Yeah.
And also try it as an experiment. Like that 30-day challenge that I took on 2 years ago, it was over the summer, so it might have been 2.5 years ago. Really was an eye-opener.
Yeah, and 30 days is impressive, but like I said, Dr. Esselstyn will ask for 16 days of people on their deathbed. So you don't need, and Eric's angina went away after 3 days. So you don't need 30 days to kind of have a little snapshot of how you might feel different eating whole food, plant-based foods. You can have a week.
Yeah. So I soon after I did that 30-day challenge, Duffy and I went downtown Seattle. There was a vegetarian festival, and like Veggie Fest, I think they call it. And we were sampling all the food, all the vegetarian food. And we, so I'd eaten. And then they had a booth that was taking people's blood pressure and blood sugar as like a health booth. And I thought, why not? Let's see. My blood pressure was the lowest I'd ever seen. I mean, in super healthy ranges. But then I burst into tears, and I just completely had this meltdown when they took my blood sugar, because it was the lowest I had ever seen it.
Wow.
Low in the good ranges. I never had problem. I was always hyperglycemic. I was never hypo.
Okay.
And so to see my blood sugar, my glucose levels that low after basically eating nothing but carbs for the entire morning.
Right.
We were sampling tons of stuff, eating tons of stuff, and we had eaten 2 hours before I think we had breakfast or something. Yeah. So it was I did not expect it to be good, but I thought, why not? They're doing free glucose tests, and it was nurses that were administering it just to raise awareness.
Yeah.
And my blood sugar was so good, I burst into tears seeing that number, because I'd never seen it. So I wasn't diabetic anymore.
Yeah.
But I still had not seen the healthiest ranges possible. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't achievable until I completely cut out all animal products and embraced whole food plant-based.
Yeah.
We've been oil-free for a long time.
Yeah.
Because one of the nature paths we follow says oil is really not great.
Right.
Although we had added back for keto, we'd added back coconut oil, thinking that was great.
Dr. Wallach, right? He says that it's bad because of the free radicals. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Dr. Wallach says don't do oil because of the free radicals.
But I think it was Dr. Garth Davis in Proteinaholic talked about how the oil coats your gut biome and makes it so you can't absorb nutrients as well.
It starves the gut biome. There's a few things they're speculating that it does, but one thing is when we eat oil, it causes an anaerobic environment for the gut bacteria, meaning it just coats it and it suffocates the good gut bacteria, so the anaerobic bacteria, which are the bad bacteria, thrive.
Right.
So we're creating a playground for all the bad bacteria to thrive, and we're killing, like mass murdering billions of cultures of good bacteria in our gut every time we eat oil.
Right.
And so they're seeing...
This is an important piece, because many people think that healthy oils are part of a healthy diet. And I think, just knowing that just maybe not eliminating anything else besides the oils can really help your gut biome. And so I think that's why I feel happier. I didn't notice there's much of improvement after having celery juice every day for 2 years.
You mean you got more of a difference out of cutting out oil than you did out of drinking celery juice for 2 years?
Definitely. I mean, all I noticed after having the celery juice for 2 years was that I could tolerate foods that I was sensitive to before. I had a sensitivity to salicylates, are found in foods, and
a ton of foods.
Yeah,
you were so restricted,
especially in healthy foods and in spices and things that are very healing. And so I didn't eat those things, or I ate a low value of those things for over a decade.
I remember when you came over like 3 years ago, I couldn't put any seasoning at all into the food I made, because it would cause a huge allergic reaction for you.
So all of a sudden I could tolerate gluten, though I chose not to eat it, but I didn't have a reaction anymore. So I thought that was cool. That felt like a superpower after being gluten-free since 1997, just to be able to eat it and not feel like I'd taken a sleeping pill. To be able to use herbs and spices for health without any reaction, that opened up so many doors, and that's why cooking and eating is so much more exciting than it was. Though, I think I did well as a whole foods cook without the spices and herbs. Or
you figured out how to do well on with a limited amount of things to make it taste good. But after you cut out oil, how quickly did you notice a difference?
Well, I just felt better. I mean, it's if before I felt this way of eating was extreme, any concern about that has gone out the window because I feel so much better. It doesn't matter. It's not inconvenient because eating this way is delicious, easy, and totally worth it. So I think that's important about this diet. Like, some diets are so picky, and you have to count your carbs, you have to write things down, you have to know about the nutrition content of everything. Like, I just try to eat the most colorful foods in their whole form. It's very simple. Is it a whole food? Is it come from plants? Then
eat it.
I can eat it. And then when I want to cheat, I eat flour. I bake something with flour that's a whole grain, and so it's not as good as eating the whole thing. But that's when I get naughty. Is when I eat the refined version of a whole food. But still, I don't need sophisticated tools, to figure out how much of everything I should be eating.
Right. Well, and
I try to eat some non-starchy vegetables. Like, I use Chef AJ's red line. I think everyone can check out her.
Eat to the left of the red line.
Eat to the left of the red line. Dr. Greger calls them green light, yellow light, red light foods, and they pretty much match up with her.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing I want to talk about is addiction. That's something that has been sort of a passionate topic of yours. For me, it's such a pleasure being your friend. You're so intellectual, and what comes naturally to you, I feel, is psychology. That really, like, in a former life, you were a psychologist, or you have helped me so many times to perceive events in a different way that helped me heal. You have a way of making things cathartic. Because you can gain a really healthy perspective on human behavior. And one thing that you've always been interested in is looking at the human behavior and psychology around addiction, and noticing the addictive tendencies in yourself and in others, and how these interpersonal relationships play out when our addictions come out.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone on the planet has some addictive behaviors. I think it's part of our neurology.
Right.
And it's being hijacked and being triggered by and being awoken by the food industry.
Yeah.
And the good book is
Pleasure Trap.
The Pleasure Trap by Dr. Lyle and Dr. Goldhammer, and we talk about that in episode 230 with Dr. Goldhammer. This idea.
Wow, what a memory.
Well, the reason why I remember is because it's my husband's joke. What's a good time to go to the dentist? 2:30.
Okay.
Get it? 2:30.
Okay.
So I always remember episode 230.
Okay.
I should memorize the other episodes that I really, the number with Esselstyn.
Yeah.
But with Dr. Goldhammer, he talks about this, and the book is wonderful. And if you listen to the audio version of the book, it's done by Chef AJ. She's the narrator. So if you like her voice, you should definitely listen to it instead of read it. So the idea that the addictive parts of our neurology are being awoken and exacerbated by food because of the food industry.
Right.
And so also in society,
dairy products and cheese have a streamlined relationship with
the dopamine response.
The dopamine receptors.
Dr. Barnard,
so it's such a relief to remove those things. It's such a relief.
It is.
It is such a relief. Yeah. And so I have noticed, and Chef AJ described it perfectly, that eating whole food plant-based diet turns down the volume on compulsive behavior. So whatever is your thing, like that agitates you.
Gambling, alcohol.
Yeah, right. Eating this way turns down the volume. And I've described my experience as just merely feeling happier. I just feel lighter. I'm more amused by problems that used to really drag me down. It's noticeable. My mom, in the testimonial, one of the reasons she was willing to give whole food plant-based a try, she told you, she hadn't told me that, was that she noticed how much more even keeled I was. So she's known me my whole life. I can be an intense person. I've had strong emotional reactions to things. You know, I'm had addictive relationships to different things and people. And so what a relief to have a way to turn down that volume, you know?
Yes.
And it's not, you don't have to have a sophisticated understanding of nutrition to do well with that. You know, you can eat plants, you know, eat plants. It's okay to eat brown rice. It's okay to eat grains. It's okay to eat those things, but just, you know, eat the plant foods and try to get some quantity of the non-starchy in there.
Yes, non-starchy vegetables.
But there's so much variety. There's so many different ways to do that effectively.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love in our membership, because we're making all these videos and we've released, there's over 3 hours worth of content right now. And we just launched the membership yesterday. And so for all the members that have joined, love it. And it's exciting. And I want you to join. I want everyone who's listening to join, because it's fun what we're doing. And every week we're adding new lessons. Every week we're adding new videos and new content, new recipes. And the point is we're creating these recipes that are, you know, delicious. Not everyone loves everything, right? So you have 3 kids with 3 different palates. And if you get, and there's some recipes in there that all 3 kids love.
Yeah.
And that is like, we say, this is like a home run. We haven't found someone who doesn't love this, you know? So there's certain foods that are like so.
Yeah. I have one kid that has an aversion to vegetables. He has a vegetable barometer. And if he sees like green or if he sees anything, he is turned off. And so, yeah, there are healthy things that he has just embraced entirely and loved and wanted more of. And so
it's exciting.
That's awesome.
And your husband, I think at one point in a video, I called him picky and he didn't like that. So I'm not going to say he's picky, because I figured out what he is. Oh. He has really high standards. Right. For food. I think he's just, so instead of calling him picky, he has high standards. Yeah. And he's really brutally honest. And if he doesn't like something, he'll say he doesn't like it.
Also, yes. Yeah.
And so this is a compliment, by the way. So it's good, because here we are having to cook for people who have high standards and have a very particular tastes. And we're coming up with recipes that are whole food, plant-based, super healing for the body, and are pleasurable and can be adaptable also for different palates.
Well, also, he's also into health. And so there are plenty of people that have promoted a healthful diet that involves organ meats, you know, that involves some things. I think you're going to have Terry Walls on your show.
Yes.
And, you know, he really was impressed by his study of Terry Walls' work. Mm-hmm. And so I think, you know, he's a little bit like my mom, worried about the calcium, you know, like, well, what if you eliminate your opportunity for healing by taking out some of the healthy foods, you know?
Right. Like,
and so
he's saying, well, aren't kidneys and eating liver healthy for you? And what if I don't eat them?
Right. And he's, you know, and like us and many people, he loves food. And so, you know, sometimes we might hold on to some of the less than healthy parts because there are some good things, like people who want to drink wine for health. You know, or hear that olive oil is the part of the Mediterranean diet that is most health promoting when it's not. You know, just sort of like things that you might have gotten attached to and just want to keep that.
Well, and wherever you are is fine. I think it's good, though, to be open-minded enough, not have the cognitive dissonance to shut down, but to be open-minded enough to look at new information that comes our way. Because like Dr. Garth Davis, he was fully on board with, he's a weight loss surgeon. So a gastrointestinal surgeon who for a living helped people lose weight by cutting out half their stomach and telling them to eat more protein. And he basically put them on something very close to an Atkins diet. But so he was very invested. He was on it. He had a TV show that ran for 2 years. He wrote a book. So his reputation was on the line. And he had to completely, you know, have a bruised ego in a sense that he had to put his ego aside, and he has now come out saying everything he's promoted for like 20 years as a doctor was wrong because he has looked at the science.
Right.
And he did a whole 180.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and now his latest book, Proteinaholic, is that 180 where he figured out he had to heal his body because he in his 30s had cholesterol deposits in his eyes, and he was losing his vision. And that's what had him wake up and go, I need to figure out a diet that's going to heal me. And then he dug through the research. I listened to the audio, which is great, but I also bought the book, and in the book, in the back, it's something like 50 pages of scientific references. So it's heavily referenced to a lot of studies, but we all have a certain amount of cognitive dissonance. We all have a certain amount of, we hear something and we want to hold on to that. Like, you know, dairy's good for me. I was told it was good since I was a kid. So, you know, if we can just challenge our own belief systems and be open-minded enough.
Let's say you've read a book about the dairy industry like Sean has and knows that raw milk has so much more to offer than pasteurized milk. So, therefore, wouldn't it be nice if raw milk was a superfood?
Right.
Because yum, you know, like it's creamy. I'm not interested in that food anymore, but you know, that's that it used to be like easy to like that data. Right?
Yeah.
Because we wanted to eat that food.
Right.
So
you can hold on to studies that say this is good and that's good, or I heard this is good, or even I was raised to believe this is good.
Right.
The problem is if we hold on to our old belief systems and not listen and not like just be willing to be flexible, we might be going down the wrong path. And the best thing to do is to ask yourself, how are you getting the results you want with your current diet, with the current way of eating? Are you nutrifying your body in a way that's fully healing yourself? And if you're not, then be willing to be open-minded enough to just try it.
I'm completely open to accepting that at some point in my future, I may need some kind of animal product to heal something.
If that comes up.
But what I'm feeling now is that every day is a stair step up, you know? And so it's easy to continue on this journey. And I think this way of eating, it doesn't feel like a diet. I think I've said several times that I don't restrict myself, you know, that I end up making some treats. And I know I'm always trying to feed you guys treats and
your version of treats are very, very healthy.
Okay. But still, you know, that I eat plenty of food and that it's just a sustainable way of eating. I am completely fine with eating this way for the rest of my life. And it is less expensive if you buy whole foods and prepare them at home.
And it doesn't take that long. So I keep saying the membership, the Learn to Health Home Kitchen membership, which can be found
There are ways. I mean, a lot of the cooking is time consuming. Let's be honest about that. But there are plenty of ways that we can do things efficiently, like lentils. Rinse
so fast.
Sprouted lentils. Rinse them 3 times a day, and then you top it with some kind of sauce, and you have some fresh sprouted protein.
And you'll never ever need to buy protein powder again. It's a whole food form of protein that also is contained youth building enzymes.
Right.
But my thing is that this way of eating, we are saving a ton of money. We're actually noticing we're noticing that we have more money in the bank at the end of the month. Going, wow, we really are saving money eating this way. There are ways to do it incredibly fast, ways to cook. Especially we show some nice hacks in the kitchen to speed up the ability to get dinner on the table.
Right.
And so there are ways to make it a fast. There are some recipes that are more time consuming, but there's a lot of ways to do it that are quick.
Well, I think just because of having to chop many things,
you can do in a food processor, and there's ways to speed things up. Because I've plenty of times I've gotten out of an interview and been like, okay, got to make dinner on the table, and 20 minutes later we're all eating. So it's like, okay, this isn't that bad. So we're saving time, we're saving a ton of money, we're saving our health and they taste delicious. So there's four points. 4 points. LearnTrueHealth.com/home kitchen. There's a coupon code for listeners that saves you a nice chunk of money. And it is very affordable, by the way, for everyone to join. But go join LearnTrueHealth.com/home kitchen. The coupon code is LTH.
Yes.
And you can get a free tour.
Yeah, we want it to be affordable for people who are, raising their families and need some help.
Yes. And want to just dive in and learn this. And whether you want to do it 100% or whether you want to put your toe in the water and be like Sean and just eat more vegetables, either way is very healing for the body. I think it also depends on the severity. If you're someone who wants to reverse a major issue, then jumping in and doing this at 100% you're going to get faster results. When you go to learntruehealth.com/home kitchen, you can watch the tour. Some people just jump in and start learning, start lesson 1. But if you'd like a tour, there's a video that gives you a tour, so you get to understand what it comes with. Every week there's new modules added, so it's going to be this ever-evolving, ongoing thing, which is really cool. And if you love our aprons, I talk about it in the membership, but there's a way that you'll earn an apron. You get to earn an apron or win an apron, Learn True Health apron, and they're really cool. So I'd love to see all you guys wearing the Learn True Health aprons in the kitchen while you're making food. Food is medicine and healing your body.
Yeah.
My last question for you, Naomi, is if I could put you in a room with the Naomi from 1 year ago, what would it look like to have a conversation with her? What advice would you want to give her?
Well, I think I would just tell her to be on the path that I am right now, to try whole food plant-based eating, and also to educate herself about it, because I have to say that that's the education part is what's given me a lot of inspiration and a lot of fire. But it was very quickly after I started eating this way that I had a strong desire to spend my life promoting this way of eating.
I remember you messaged me.
I was wondering how I could find that kind of role.
You're like, am I going to become a health coach? Do I need to go back to school and be a nutritionist?
Yeah.
I remember having that conversation with you.
How can I help spread the word about this way of eating? Because just talking to my husband about it constantly, that wasn't very appreciated.
She'd message me and be like, I can't talk about health stuff anymore in the house. My husband is not allowing it. I am talking too much about health now.
It's a little bit stressful. Yeah, to hear about it all the time. But he is enjoying, like he did say this weekend, I think I just said that he's whole hog, but not cold turkey. He's all for it, and he really enjoys it. It's just hard to go all the way, and that's fine. I was highly motivated to do the 180 that I did, and it's easy for me, but I'm all or nothing kind of person.
Yes.
And so it would be harder for me to integrate animal products into my healthy lifestyle.
I think I made it harder.
Yeah, I wouldn't know like how many and when, and
I think it would have been easier for me if I had just said, okay, from now on, it's just this way. I think that would have been easier.
Yeah.
I made the transition harder on myself by saying I'm going to do this slowly.
Yeah.
But I was really working on my mindset, and I was working on a lot of old belief systems about food.
Yes.
And that's where education comes into play, because the more we dive into the books and the interviews and the summits by these different doctors who are on a regular basis healing people with major health issues,
right?
Like cancer gone,
healing
diabetes
people.
gone,
healing many people,
healing many people, but many diseases across the board, autoimmune gone, like unbelievable stories of just people, so many people healing so many different things from this one way of eating,
right?
And so that's for me. If I had just said, okay, jump on board 100%. So instead, I dragged it out a little. My transition, I dragged it out a little bit. I just ate less and less and less and less meat. That's where you were. That's where I was.
But I think, so to answer your question, I think the advice I would have given myself is to not be afraid. to just be experimental, give it a try and not be intimidated because, I wish I would have had curiosity about this 17 years ago when I heard about it because I just chose to not. Chose to not. And so, I wish I would have had the courage and the curiosity
Right.
to dive in. Like when I heard the term heart disease, then it was a no-brainer. But before then, I was like,
You were ready to hear it
nothing.
then.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's, and I just wanted to say one more thing, and that is I had plantar fasciitis before, and that's just gone away completely.
It's gone.
Completely.
You hurt to walk, and now it doesn't.
Yeah. It was terrible.
That's really cool because Dr. Wallach says it's a calcium deficiency that causes plantar fasciitis, and you're getting way more minerals now, way more calcium now. They're eating a ton of vegetables, so it's interesting. Plus antioxidants, the decrease inflammation in the body. But it's interesting that your body's reversing something that many experts would say is not reversible without therapy, like physical therapy and procedures done to the foot.
Yeah. Yeah. It was one of those things that I just thought of recently, actually, because if you're starting to feel better, if you're not writing everything down, you sometimes don't remember what's gotten better.
Yep.
And then I remembered, hey, yeah, I used to have plantar fasciitis, remember? And it was such a problem, but it just gradually went away, and I haven't even thought about it in months. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Naomi, this is so exciting. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story. I can't wait to see what our lives are like a year from now, or even 6 months from now.
Yeah.
It's been 6 months. You've been fully on board, and you're healing your body with a whole food plant-based diet.
Well, I just have to thank you because I have so much gratitude because I am a home cook, and you are sharing your platform with me for helping get out the word, of cooking whole food plant-based. And that's, I wouldn't be able to have access to people that want that information without you, so thanks for inviting me,
I can't wait for all the listeners, to learn from you. All the listeners need to learn from you because you've got so amazing. The recipes are great, but also you do these cool things. You make your own teas, you make your own spices blends, you make your own seasonings. Like you drink a ton of healing herbs throughout the day. I want to do a video on that. You have lots of little health habits that you do that you've integrated into your day effortlessly that you don't even think about. You just take for granted all these wonderful things you do, but other people need to learn about it.
But a lot of those do make a difference. If I don't drink the anti-inflammatory tea that I drink every day, it does make a difference. So even eating so many vegetable foods, like still the tea is really helpful. So
so we'll have a whole video on that.
I've learned some tricks along the road to better health.
Well,
not tricks. I mean,
solutions.
Some good tools.
Right. Well, if you think about it, like a few hundred years ago, we would have all learned from our grandmothers, right? These things would have been passed down. A few hundred years ago, our grandmothers would go into the woods with us and pick herbs out of the woods and made different remedies with them. And a few hundred years ago, our ancestors used food more as medicine, right? We lost this. We just lost this over the last 100 years. We've lost this connection with the earth and the ability to incorporate plants to heal on a regular basis. One of my interviewers, or one of my guests, I think it might have been Dr. J. Davidson, talked about how if you talk to old school farmers, they would say that it's been passed down from farming generation to generation. It was passed down that everyone in the family that are farmers, along with their animals twice a year, will deworm, will go through and do certain herbs with the animals to remove parasites from their bodies. And that we knew this, like as a society, we knew this, a few hundred years ago, but we've lost it now because we've all bought into the allopathic medical system. And so we've lost this connection with the earth. So you're doing things on a regular basis, and you're kind of like, I'm not calling you grandma because you're young, but you're like the grandma we need, this very young, youthful woman who could help us be like a surrogate grandmother, teach us these techniques, like the herbs that you use to heal in your regular, every day.
Yes.
And
Well, I've been a groupie. Around holistic medical providers. I worked I worked with students, and then I worked for doctors and acupuncturists. So I like to learn.
and now you get to teach us everything you've learned.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything else you wanted to say to the listeners to wrap up today's interview?
I hope you check out the membership. Bowls. I think Bowls is something we showed in the listener community Facebook group. So I think if you're interested in one whole food plant-based recipe, check out Bowls.
Bowls is lesson 7, I think it is in. I think it's lesson 7 in module 1. Mm-hmm. We did a little mini lesson for free in the Facebook group, so check out the video section of the Facebook group for the Bowls video. Yeah. Or when you become a member, go to lesson 1, module 1, and look up bowls.
And we'll be constantly adding to the bowl items, the things that you can use in bowls, and I'm excited. There are some recipes in there that have become that are staples, in providing those mushrooms, like having
the meaty mushrooms,
having meaty mushroom stuff.
So
when you were talking about mushrooms before, getting a half cup, it's effortless, really, if you make a big batch of the meaty mushroom stuffing. Do you call it?
Yeah. We couldn't figure out what the name of it.
I just call it mushroom stuff.
The mushroom stuff, the meaty mushroom stuff.
If I have that in the refrigerator, I can mix that into lots of different dishes. Or if I'm using the beefalo that my kids are still eating, because we have a freezer full of that. Mm-hmm. I may put that in their meatballs, along with some other grated carrots or something like that. But that helps us get those key nutrients that you can only get in mushrooms, and to have that and just add a scoop here and there on top of what you're eating or in your salad. Anyway,
there's a way
bowls
to
and
make
mushroom stuff. That's what's top of my head right now is
meaty mushroom stuffing. It's in the I Heart Vegetables section, the module of the membership. It is so freaking delicious. I remember when we were making the recipe, we were filming making the recipe, you hadn't had any yet, because I was teaching you how to make it. And you're kind of like,
it wasn't scripted.
It was no, nothing is scripted, but you're kind of like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's
not
nice.
A reality show.
And then I made it, so I made it on camera, showing you how to make it, showing everyone how to make it. And then you taste it and you're like, wow. And then Duffy turns the camera off and you go, I didn't believe you when you said it was this good. Right. I thought you were exaggerating.
You have lots of natural enthusiasm. So I heard that it was good, and I believe that. But then it was kind of,
dang, girl, that's good.
It's really and that's like, I call it the Campbell soup of whole food plant-based cooking, and that's just maybe my personal history of like growing up with a suburban working class family,
get the creamy mushroom soup
with like different things. I felt like a chef with that when I was a kid. And so meaty mushroom, it's like that. It has multiple applications, and it has more flavor and more health promoting properties than the Campbell's version.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's super fantastic. Yeah. So
love it. Awesome. Well, I'm excited for the listeners to check it out, and I'm really glad that we created this platform. We spent the last 4 months working on it.
Yeah, it's been so fun.
And it's just gonna go uphill from here. Yeah. Or it's just gonna get better and better and better. Yeah. I'm just really looking forward to, I'm imagining myself, a year from now, the health that I'm building now and the health that you're building now. I think we could all take a minute just to think about the body we want and the body we want to live in a year from now. Like we renovate our house, we repair our car, right? We do things to upgrade where we live. We need to think about our bodies, like our house we live in, and we need to like we need to
Right.
put on a new roof
Yeah.
and build a new foundation.
Yeah. And if you're younger than my age, 48, you don't have to wait until things start to break down. It's okay to experiment and be curious and brave about 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 your health before someone says a devastating diagnosis. Yeah.
But I love that even your parents in their 70s got such quick results.
Yeah.
So any age is going to get great results, and we can use food as our medicine, and that's the message.
My mom's not 70 yet.
Don't let her listen to this episode. I just assumed, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. A woman in her 60s.
Yeah.
Well, it still works for people in their 70s, though.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. They've been having great benefit and really loving it, and that is just the most amazing thing ever to me. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and everyone's gonna see us in Facebook Lives in the Facebook group.
Wait, one more testimonial. I finally got my mother-in-law with type 2 diabetes to watch the I Thrive documentary, and then she started fasting and is going plant-based. She's replaced all the foods in her house with she was eating basically keto, and she's eliminated all the dairy products and animal products from her home, and she has plant-based foods lined up to make big batches, and she's already off metformin.
She's been fasting on and off for the last 2 weeks now.
Yeah, I think she fasted for a week, then ate a small lunch that was plant-based with no grains, and then she fasted for another week, and then she ate a standard American diet for some reason. She had guests, and she
decided to
they brought over
eat whatever
some
they
stuff.
brought.
Yeah, they brought over some
and did not feel good about
treats.
it.
And then she ate plant-based for a few days, and now she's back to fasting.
And so after 2 weeks of fasting and almost solely plant-based, she is now off of metformin.
Yeah, and she lost 37 pounds.
I love it. I'm really excited for her. I'm excited for when she stops fasting and just dives in 100% into the diet.
Yeah.
Although fasting is a wonderful way to reset the neurology so that you become more neuroadapted to the food.
Yep, that's her desire. Because when I told her about this, she really scoffed because she doesn't enjoy vegetables, and so she's getting a lot of health benefits from the fasting, but her real motivation is to enjoy plants more.
So if you don't like the taste of vegetables, do some water-only fasting to reset your neurology. And that's discussed in episode 230 as well, which is with Dr. Goldhammer. So yeah, I love it. Well, we'll have to keep everyone updated with your mother-in-law and also your parents and how they're all doing, and learntruehealth.com/home kitchen. Use coupon code LTH. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to see where this goes.
This was fun. It was fun. I can't believe I'm going to be in a podcast.